Namo tase bhagavato arehato samma sambuddhase. Namo tase bhagavato arehato samma sambuddhase. Namo tase bhagavato arehato samma sambuddhase. Theron Sannai, everyone. We continue with the Maha Kotthita Sutta that we began last week and going over through much discussion over the set in which Sariputta Thera and Mahakotthita Thera were engaging in this discussion of what is the holy life and what is not the holy life. And in understanding this conversation which is taking place between two arahats, meaning two beings who have experienced the highest form of nibbana, that is experienced through the purification of the mind and deepest letting go. Not only so, they also had a very, very strong power of discernment, being Patisambhida Labhi bhikkhus, meaning that these bhikkhus throughout their sansaric journey and in this life were able to, or their discernment faculty was such strong and cultivated that culminated in them being announced to be Patisambhidalabi, being able to penetrate into Dhamma, penetratively understanding, being able to discern between the ultimate realities with great understanding. That is what being Patisambhida Labi would mean to a practitioner. The depth to which these bhikkhus would have seen reality as it was beyond most of even the arahats at the time, because they were senior bhikkhus who also was announced by the Buddha to have these special capabilities, isn't it? So we are privy to this conversation now through the reading of the sutra to gauge into what that discussion was. Two Kalyana Mitras, two Buddha Putras, through their many lifetimes of practice together, have come into this position at the very end of their sansaric journey, contemplating on what is the holy life and what is not. We understand that the holy life is taken up by one who wants to engage and walk in the path leading to a place of peace, or a place that one may want to achieve according to one's sammaditthi. So if the sammaditthi is strong within that being may connect to nibbana. Other beings may have other scenarios that they are looking forward to. However, the holy life is that which connects with nibbana. So in that journey, in that pathway of following those teachings, what do we follow those teachings for, and what do we not follow those teachings for? That is what this sutra is about. So it is a sutra that is, because of the two arhats being so, whilst the sutra, for example, if we are to take this second one as an example here, now then also Sariputta, is the holy life lived under the Blessed One for this purpose? May an action that is to be felt in a future life turn into an action that is felt by me here and now. No my also. Venerable Sariputta says, no my also. Hmm? Now, being an arhat, they have got rid of all forms of delusion, isn't it? They have got rid of all adherences and mental attachments to views. They have got rid of the ties that connect the object to the Atma. They have none of that. Being so, and also being Patisambhidalabhi, the bhikkhus are saying thus, understanding fully to that any action that is to be felt in a future life turn into an action that is felt by me here and now. Hmm? To bring about, now one might say, we could go with examples as we did last time. This could be relatable to a person who is engaging with Dhamma to bring about good results here and now for oneself. This could also relate to if we are looking at, for example, our meditation. And in that moment, expecting something that we know through patient practice will arise in the future, we try to take up forms of mind, kusala or upekha, whatever natures that we think would help. We take up those forms of mind in order to bring about whatever that is to arise in the future, here and now. In the arhats and a patisambhida labhi scope, it could be any one of these things leading up to the moment of even the gateway into enlightenment itself. Because the arhat, that is a specialty in this sutra. The two persons. Because these two persons were teachers, and these two persons were persons who had tasted the Dhamma, one the Buddha's right hand, another a Nasu Mahashravaka. Having this brotherly conversation as Kalyana Mitras, saying this is not what it is for. Meaning, when we let go of even thoughts of that sort, why? When we come closer into seeing what the true Dhamma inherently is. Inherently is. Now, when you went over this sutra in your time, because you had 2 weeks with this sutra, isn't it? So, when you went over this sutra in your time, what did you think about the sutra? Hmm? How was the sutra? How did the sutra relate to you? If anyone would like to share. Because we know these sutra readings, they can be so powerful as you read them, not just for knowledge, but as as a self-contemplation. Because this sutra, the scope of it can go from the most basic of practitioners to the most advanced of practitioners. Hmm? So today we are to begin with number 7, if I'm correct. Number 7. Hmm? Number 7. Now, before we go on to number 7, what did you think about the sutra? Hmm.
Bhante, I think all these points up to number 7,
Hmm.
sometime or the other, we have all done it.
Hmm.
I feel like number 1, actions we do to have a better life in future, like kusala karmas, to be born in a better place, or devavas, or to have a better future. we do a lot of kusala karma. So from the beginning, and each and every one at some time in our lives, we have been in that wrong view,
Mm.
and then gradually realized some sort of truth.
And that wrong, yes, now in the Prajnapti Shiroma, I think a lot of people go through the spurs of, you know, inspiring for one or more of these factors or positions that are listed here. But what we want to connect to is the fact that then in when the truth, the ultimate truth is in question, all of those problems dissolve. All of those vitharkas and impulsions, they dissolve. Just like they say, isn't it, in the sutras? They say, when the Buddha Andavanaya, Andavanaya was a grove which was like a swamp. hmm, it was quite dark. It was quite different from the other monasteries that the Buddha resided, which was quite airy, and this Andavani was very thick and dense. So below there wasn't a lot of light. Hmm? But they say when the Buddha was at Andavane, how the people knew that the Buddha was there. They say the Buddha's radiance was so much so that the people couldn't see it from day and night. Uh,
Maybe the starlight, the moonlight,
uh, so
Buddha's radiance.
the Buddha's radiance, and when the Buddha, or when you come to meet with, come into the presence of the Buddha, they say the people who come with a heavy heart, the people who come with a heavy mind, all of that is dissolved simply by just seeing this being that you are seeing for the first person, first time. And maybe not even a faith adherer, maybe not even a Buddhist, maybe of another religion. But the strength of the Buddha was so much so, his vibrance, his power, his radiance was so much so that this had this effect, was present in people. And we realize with masters that we meet in our lifetime, the energies that they would have and their presence, and how their presence calms our own mind. And we think, if this person, this monk, is so much so the way that he is, how would the Buddha have been? How 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 radiant and how brilliant his aura would have been to just to be within the vicinity of the Buddha and engage and have the opportunity to just share the same space. But here, now, as we talk about this, what this conversation too falls under one of these things. this conversation, this conversation that we have just had, and this Vedana that we have just felt, this warmth of mind that we have just experienced,
Yes.
is something that we will find is a factor that you will find listed here,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm.
these great bhikkhus, yes, they are talking about something that you and I can relate to in our lives, in our ordinary lives. However, these bhikkhus could also be talking about something far, far, far more deeper. Because that is what a Patisambhida Labhi is, right? That is what a Patisambhida Labhi is. That is why the sutra begins by the mention of this. Right. So, of course, when Venerable Sariputta, the Buddha's right hand, has the opportunity to, while spending his whole day with young monks and new ordainees, as such, when you have to then go down to or be with them. And then you are probably during the night time when your duties are far more relaxed. Then he's with his other friend, Maha, having this discussion as brothers, as equals in a way, right? And really testing and stretching out their prajna. This is the type of camaraderie. This is camaraderie. During the time of the Buddha, this is the camaraderie. Right? Because obviously you see, Maha, it is not that Maha Kotthita does not know that what the holy life is and isn't. Maha Kotthita, very well as Venerable Maha Sariputta, knows what the holy life is, right? They know what the holy life is because they're both arahats. They're enlightened beings. But they are springing, they are working their intelligence, and where their minds would have been going together in formulating this very simple but also something that goes right down to the moment that we are letting go of each and every mind as well. Mhm.
And in the Sutra Pitaka, we get like similar
Mhm.
conversations between the arhats, and I heard someone explaining that they actually have these, not that because they don't know, but
Mhm.
they have these intricate, deep conversations, discussions for
Mhm.
the benefit of the others
Mhm.
in the future.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's one reason, because they have gone beyond all this, isn't it?
absolutely.
In their understanding.
Oh, then now in a scenario of that sort, yes. Now these bhikkhus could have a vision of the future, but these bhikkhus would have been very simple in mind. Metta Sutra. Metta
Mm,
Sutra, they are the embodiment of the loving kindness sutta. In the loving kindness sutta, it says that a person who is within the holy life or a person who is with this truth,
mm,
such a person is never busy. Hmm?
mm, mm,
Such a person is never busy. Their lives can have many things going on, but never are these threads knotted. Why? The line of thought, the way the mind flows, is quite smooth. It is not restless in nature. Hmm? Now, another part,
present moment as
the
well. Is
present moment, being in the present moment. So, that simplicity of that Metta Sutra, we can understand the inert qualities that would be there between these very pure but mature senior bhikkhus and bhikkhus who are also engaged as teachers at the time of the Buddha. Hmm, who are looking after their daily duties included caring for, training, instructing, and even sometimes giving water baths. Hmm,
mm, mm,
even sometimes doing all of that to all of the people who are getting ordained under the Buddha. Right? So these bhikkhus, whilst doing all of that, they would have been very much in the present moment. But this time here, as they expound, remember, they're also in an isolated position, meaning they are alone. There's no one else around, right? They're spending some time alone. So, which would have mean that they were in the forest somewhere, they were on top of a rock somewhere, right? Spending some time alone as brothers, having this Dhamma discussion, right? Having this Dhamma discussion. So here, if we relate to the fact, the first one, may an action that is felt here and now turn into an action that is to be felt by me in the future.
mm,
Pursuing a spiritual sort of engagement or trying to use the Dhamma or coming into the Dhamma, into the practice, to ensure that something that is felt here and now can turn into an action that is felt by me in the future.
mm.
Now, this would also include, remember, Dana, Sila, Bhavana. Dhamma, our Buddhism is broken down into, if we break it down into three parts, is generosity, Dana, uh, then the Sila, the morality, and then the Bhavana, the meditation. Hmm? So, this would include Dana, Sila, and Bhavana. So people coming into sort of dana, the generosity, the sort of the spirit, the sort of what do you say, the different pujas and the religious rites and rituals or ceremonies, those aspects of the Dhamma as well, because those are through faith, what people do through faith as well.
It
Now,
is the Bhante that like the purpose, that is part of our path, Dana Sila Bhavana. But here the purpose is not the right purpose for the benefit in a future life.
yes,
Here they are questioning, is that the right purpose?
definitely.
If you do it for the future life, then it is not the right purpose, isn't it?
It is not
The right
it's not for
purpose.
this purpose, not
Not
right purpose, not
not for
right
this
purpose,
purpose
not
of
for this
liberation.
purpose, because they're both right.
Yeah, yeah. But the intention would be
Yeah,
not for the purpose of liberation.
not for the purpose of.
Like liberation in the sense, like if you think like, if you do dana, sila, bhavana, so a yogi does all that
Mm-hmm,
three with
mm-hmm.
the purpose of
Yes,
getting my future life prosperous
yes,
and happy.
yes,
But the Buddha's purpose of his teachings is not that.
yes.
So the purpose has to be,
The purpose.
I,
Remember, here the Buddha's teaching and the holy life under the teaching of the Buddha. This is entirely not the teaching. This is the practice,
yeah, yeah.
right? This is the practice. So when we as beings, as persons who are engaged with this, just imagine if you have an insecurity within you that is arising as a certain sense of anxiety, a thought that is bugging you, arising in your mind. All of those thoughts, the nature of those thoughts to acquire something in the future to arise now for something which is now, people who might be going through, let us say, health and hoping that this remains the same in the future as well, or beauty, vanity, and hopes that this remains in the future as well. And in order to do that, um, one might have heard Buddhist monks don't age, or they look their they look, their skin looks better because they meditate. Now I start meditating.
Yeah, purpose is not the right one.
Now I start meditating for my vanity. But the thing is, in
Mm,
that samadhi, in that person's view, it is very innocent. It is right for that person. Right?
mm,
Yes, there might be craving, but that craving also will slowly demise and it will turn into a beautiful mind. In the beginning, yes, there will be craving, but that craving, like all other things, that craving will also shed and it will also come into a beautiful mind. So, in that way, that is a good entrance for that person into the path. But in the scope of these arahats who have touched that nibbana,
mm,
this person is saying, let us imagine this like a fire inside of us. Hmm? And this anxiety or this thought that is arising within you is to turn to make sure that something you have here and now remains the same in the future.
mm,
The person who's touched Nibbana and the person who's gone through the same thought or experience his life is saying, the holy life, letting go of something of that sort is easy or not even significant in comparison to what is the holy life or the fruits of the holy life. So, the true purpose of the holy life, which is the practice, so right here, If we abandon all the five senses, come into the present moment, tell ourselves we are going to engage in an hour of Vipassana practice, you're living the holy life. Vipassana practice for enlightenment, hoping that we cultivate more faculties towards enlightenment, you're living the holy life at that moment. Within that moment, when you're set in that moment, now sort of discerning or trying to let go, you have this expectation that arises within your mind where you are in samadhi and you hope, you're in a tranquil position and you hope, may this continue. When you hope, when we have all done it, red handed, everyone's caught, right? Drowning in the same boat. Because we all know, if you think back well enough, you would all remember that when you thought that, the samadhi reduced or it dissipated, that it became restless, that now thoughts started proliferating or worries started coming in, that it was just thoughts, that somehow the quality, that wanting, that is not the purpose of this. So that is not the meditator's purpose. Down into that moment, that position where you are breaking, discerning, being able to discern between the mind and the body, or mind and action, or let us even come back to discerning right from wrong, what is wholesome and unwholesome, what is fruitful and not fruitful. Hmm? Because even whilst we talk all the time about the ultimate reality, in hopes that we are understanding the Sammuti, sometimes it's good to also engage this with the Sammuti to say and remind ourselves, oh, this is what I'm experiencing, where I'm trying to proliferate or hold on. That is not what that is for. Meaning that that power that you think that moment has or that object has, there is no power there. Being able to discern this, see this, take that power away, that power that is within the object is all the power that your mind has bestowed or imagined into it. When that convention disappears, it is as if when we think if we will not survive without our parents, for example, uh, at a time we might have thought. However, look at us now. Mhm. But that thought arises, and at that moment you see it was nothing. You thought it, but it was not really something which was solid because you thought it, but that changed. Just so any of those wants coming down from the gross samuti into the moment, even at that moment, to proliferate something which is now into the future, or to may an action that is felt in the future turn into an action that is felt, to bring a future experience closer. Mhm. To bring a future experience closer to you, to experience it here and now. Mhm. So, for example, looking forward to the arising of samadhi, looking forward to the arising of wisdom, looking forward to we can go on, isn't it, till tomorrow. And now the third one, may an action that is felt as pleasurable turn into an action that is felt by me as painful. Hmm? Now hoping that a Vedana that is experienced as pleasurable turn into something that is painful. This one after that, may an action that is felt as painful turn into an action that is felt by me as pleasurable. We can relate to that far better, isn't it? Huh?
Yes.
But when you look a little bit deeper, you can relate to this as well. When we crave disorder, when we crave the chaos, when the peace is not peaceful enough, when there is some sort of, if an action, if something is pleasurable, if something makes you happy, the distortion, remember, this is a Vedana that is felt in feeling the object. So if something you feel as pleasurable, the distortion in the mind wants you to see it as painful. Now, what is that? Can any of you give me an example?
That like being like narcissist or like thinking of everything as negative
Mm, right.
kind. Huh?
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
don't, who else will want to turn pleasure into pain?
Okay. More examples. Come on. Give us some examples. Ko Damayanti. Alexandra, yes? Did you want? Deepani?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I can get my. Oh,
Yes.
I think. Well, I mean, this is me being a woman. Yeah. If you eat chocolate, it's pleasurable. You eat chocolate cake, it's pleasurable. That gives you pleasure. But then you think about it. Actually, it goes on my hips, and I'm putting on weight. So that's the painful bit.
Uh,
I don't know.
I was going to say the same thing.
That's a wonderful example. That's a wonderful example. Right. That's a wonderful example. Or let's say, may, let's say an occasion where you see your child playing with someone else. Hmm? And it's a beautiful image. At one moment, it was very happy, but it brings up a little bit of jealousy.
jealousy, yeah.
Huh? A
Mm.
bit of jealousy that arises. Now, that image, which was, your child playing, having fun, smiling, all of that, but he is not doing that with me.
Mm.
Huh? Now, see, a pleasurable image, wanting to experience it as a painful, right? Turning it into the painful there, right? And
Mm.
how, for example, even let us say in our own meditation, um, we experience or we are experiencing whatever it is that we are experiencing. But when it comes to the discussion, we are hearing all sorts of experiences, feeling as if, oh, I'm not actually, doing so well, am I, in compare? If that negative element come to the mind. Now see, now the pleasure, the gratitude or whatever that you had about your practice could shift and change and think, oh, but this is not enough. Hmm? This is not enough. This is actually not much at all. Hmm? Just like we would think about our own sort of successes. Oh yes, but other people have done greater. Hmm? It is, for a moment, yes, it's a success, but then that negative connotation comes in and it turns it into something which is negative, something which is a painful sensation, a dukkha vedana. Huh?
දුක්ඛ සත්‍ය නේද ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ?
Dukkha the make dukkha vedana,
Mm.
painful feeling,
Mm.
pleasurable, it's talking about vedana, sensations. So it is painful feeling. So here the person hoping now, um, sometimes in order to hurt people, people start meditating and sort of showing that they're renouncing things, right? When the husbands get scared, the wives get scared, they start buying the flowers and the chocolate. Uh, now, now
No,
in
but
way,
felt by
that way,
me as painful, Bhante.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah. Now
pleasurable
the pleasurable, the other one,
pain.
painful. right? To
Yeah.
turn something that is painful into pleasure.
Uh,
To
uh,
turn something that is pleasurable into
mm,
pain.
mm,
Hmm? Into pain. In order for that volition, that Chetana arising, thinking that we come into this for that purpose. No. Painful into pleasurable. For example, coming into the practice because you've gone through the sorrows of heartache and heartbreak, right? And living the holy life for the purpose of easing the suffering on your heart. Hmm? However, yes, fair enough. It is not a bad thing. It is not a wrong thing to bring upon peace to yourself. However, when we come into the purpose of it, the practice, the Dhamma, and the depth of the Dhamma, and all of that brilliance, we realize our pain is just a part of the nature of dukkha satya, the truth of suffering that is there, the nature, which is the fact that things arise and they pass away, impermanent. Because they arise and pass away, the moment that they arise, if this is taken as an object of clinging, then you cling to it. When you cling, you create a view, you attach yourself. Then there is suffering. So, this is not to say that everything in the world causes suffering, but the thing is, everything in the world has a potential for suffering. It is a part of dukkha satya. It can, any of those elements of the world can be an element, a support, firewood to the fire of dukkha. Hmm? Fire of dukkha. In that relation, all of these fires that we have to turn pleasure into pain, the strife, the virya, the effort that we put in, and the mental energy that we put in to turn pain into pleasure, these two enlightened beings are saying almost as if, yes, yes, we did it in the past ourselves and laughing onto themselves. But that is not what we understand to be the holy life now.
mm,
The holy life is a greater truth, and in that, all of these urges, this is clinging. Where you are in a place of pain and you're clinging for pleasure, and where you're in a place of pleasure and you're clinging for pain. Hmm? Pain. I remember also reading on a research paper which was done on the effects or the clinging attachment people have towards suffering in their lives. The fact that because people, suffering is something that is closely embraced in our society or people because our lives are such. So we all have, different sufferings or whatnot that we can tell of in our own way. When this suffering is almost as if this suffering is what we remember because of attitudes or because it is so, because this person or I have gone through suffering from the moment that I was born up until this point. This person has a nature that connects its suffering. The pain where, for example, like a bird, for the bird, we might wonder and think, why can't the bird be still? But for the bird, this is normal. It doesn't think I'm running away from prey or I shouldn't get killed. It's thinking this is my nature or this is how I am. I go from branch to branch, branch to branch, not staying too long. This is the way. They go in there. But actually, that is their protection mechanism. How they protect themselves, ward off. How they would flutter their wings, all of this in the guise of nibbana, enlightenment. All of these fires are slowly but surely put off. And when that fire is put off, there is no sankhara arising to the very next moment to hope that this pleasure turn to pain. Now, when we have a pain arising, when we have a pain arising and we are hoping for that pain to go away or turn into pleasure, or we have a certain state of mind which is restless. Because it is restless, it is not what we want. We want a calmer mind. I'm trying to meditate here. I want a calmer mind. Now that wanting for that moment, even that in connection to what true Nibbana is, that is not the purpose. So think about what these bhikkhus are also saying. It is almost as if trotting at the factor, whilst in the gross Sammuti explanation, all of us with all of the examples that you shared are true and right and relatable to this sutra. If we go to a deeper essence of Vipassana, the Satipatthana, and what our experiences with our own mind are when we sit for meditation, it is the same things that we do there, because this is our conditioning. We are conditioned by sensations, pleasurable and those that are not pleasurable, and of course, upekkha. We are conditioned by our perception. We are conditioned by our bodies, the materiality around us. The materiality around us. We are conditioned by the consciousness. We are conditioned by the karma, these energies that fit and place in this universe around us, within elements that we are live within. All of these components we take in a way, because of our conditioning of self, we take as personal, something that I have to sort out, I have to sort out, I have to sort out. But like a person who's weaving forever, this person is weaving through every moment of volition. This person is weaving another bit of their samsaric journey. It is in the person realizing that this weaving is what I have to stop. This becoming is what I have to stop. This craving again and again, wanting to change again and again, trying to think that I can control the impermanence, control the self by doing karmas. The doing in the meditation, in the vipassana stops. Where we think that ourself can figure this out, we are intelligent enough, isn't it? Because we have sorted out so many things, we think that this can also be sorted, but that it is when we really go sit down, we realize how foolish we were to think so. How foolish we were to think so, that you could solve this with logic and reason. Logic and reason. So now the fifth one, no, fifth one. May an action that is felt when fully ripened turn into an action that is felt by me when not fully ripened. This is about karmic results, isn't it? When results ripen, karma vipaka, karmic results ripens, then you are experiencing the most blissful or the most powerful part of that karma. When it is fully not, when felt by me, when not fully ripened. So before it is ripened, you want to experience what it feels like. For example, the student want to take over from the teacher before the student has ripened. How about that? The son wanting all the properties before the father thinks the son is ready to take over all the properties. Huh? How about that? All of those, when not fully ripened. Now, because we don't know what these karmas are. But remember, there are certain karmas that you know in a way, because of what we are born into, the positions, our cultures, our traditions. Karmas are traditions, you know, this is the way that things, these are the decisions that might be made. Might be made. Hence, that is also something that is not fully ripened. May I experience this? May I experience this? The sixth one, may an action that is felt when not fully ripened turn into an action that is felt by me fully ripened. So when this person is fully ripened in terms of karma, may an action that is felt when not fully ripened. Now the craving is working in a sense of even when this karma is fully ripened, may I experience something that now this could be about akusala, an unwholesome action. Where when the unwholesome action ripens, it is quite difficult. It becomes quite difficult or challenging or negative or bad luck, or this could be states that you are born into or things that you go through in your life, health, different things you don't even know. You don't even know. But if you do, and you're thinking, may an action that is felt when not fully ripened turn into an action that is felt by me when fully ripened.
Ante, could that be like vipassana knowledges and stages of enlightenment, like samadhi, all the higher stages, when it's not fully ripened? A lot of students assume that it is fully ripened and want to feel that it is fully ripened, but not yet fully ripened.
Yes, it can.
Hmm?
Yes. So when it comes to any action, or these are talking about karmas. Now, we know through cause and effect, if you keep on doing this karma, this is what is going to happen. Right? This is what is going to happen. So you go through this for this period of time, you're going to get good at it. Right? And through cause and effect, you also know. Now, when that action is not fully ripened, may an action that is felt when fully ripened, felt by me, not fully ripened. And the other, felt when fully ripened, felt by me when fully ripened. Not fully, felt by me, fully ripened.
Uh,
An
and
akusala vipaka, during a time of an akusala vipaka, may I experience the states that were before the ripening of that akusala vipaka. When something bad or a bad result is taking place, hoping for a state that is before. Hoping for a state that is before. When a certain or in wanting to acquire into a certain state, that is a karma that is not fully ripened, the first one, a karma that is yet to come, a vipaka, a result that is yet to ripen, may I experience this earlier? Right? May I experience this earlier? From anything beginning with usurping a position before one is ready for it, or wanting to experience a certain wanting to experience a certain Vedana or experience or karmic result in this case, before you have come into the position of experiencing it. Mm? Before you come into the position of experiencing it. Right? Now, for example, let us say um, one sees how senior reverend monks are treated and doted after by all the devotees. Hmm? Okay, seeing this, let us say a samanera or a younger person or a person who comes into monkhood or comes into the practice thinking that may I do things to experience that state. That state. Now, you have just become a monk or whatnot, but you're now doing things or hoping to experience that state before its maturation. right? Even in the meditation, you're practicing anapanasati, or you've done a week of it, let us say, or you've just gone over a week and you're hoping, oh, now I've done this for this long, or maybe just half a week even. Let's just a couple of days. And you're thinking, why aren't I there yet? Why aren't I there? Why can't I have that thing that they were talking about? Uh, the thing that they were talking about. The arising, processing, ceasing. Why can't I see that? I want to see that state. Now you're practicing. Now what happens? Of course, we know it becomes quite arduous and difficult and straining. And straining. We let go of that. In that nibbana, in the sense of that moment, that fire is also pleased. We shut down or we let go of that thought also. The thought where I think I want to experience something either right now from the future, or something that is of the now, may I experience it in the future in regards to when it is ripened and not ripened. This being දෙපැත්තටම වෙන්නේ නැහැ. To both sides it doesn't happen. This person lets go of the needing to manure a change of that sort, because that is something that he has now let go of. Even that he does not want to bring about and manipulate, because they understand that in Nibbana, this is also not the purpose. This is also not the purpose, which is to bring about states to make you more comfortable. You're hoping that something in the future happens now, or something which is when that thing of the future happens, may I experience something before it happened or before it matured. When I have to go through the consequences of my actions, may I experience a bit of this bliss as well. Or may I be able to practice to bring about a sense of softness into that practice as well. The person who touches on the emptiness, the truest emptiness, lets go of even that intention. That intention doesn't burden the mind that is trying to be present. It is almost as if that fire is one fire after the other, the causes of the fire, the causes. If this is one part of the firewood or what, any base that needs the fire to be there, the causes of that fire are going out. Because through the realization, this is not I'm not going to get to where I need to go by doing this. Although I think it is through this that I need to get to the peace that I want to get to, that is not the way. That is not the purpose. Your peace is not in that route, in hoping and trying to manipulate or change. Instances where karmic results, just imagine the amount of strain on a person's mind who's trying to manipulate karma. Trying to manipulate karma. Sometimes, for me, I mean, when you see people, doing again and again, pinkang, for example, again and again, one katina after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. Not one cut, but sometimes 3, 4 katinas a season, after the other, after the other. As a monk, I feel dizzy looking at these lay people. Because I feel personally dizzy looking at these lay people on they're going, yes, but if they exerted this amount of energy that they do to doing these elaborate, huge katinas with millions and millions of expense, yes, you're trying to control, make sure that you're rich, all births to come in the future. that you have divine births, all births to come in the future, but that is not what Nibbana is about. Mm. There was a nice article by Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, which said, it was a general article about Dhamma practice, and it said, as we read or go through philosophy and the doctrine, and because most of this doctrine is accessible to us, we think that this is a type of pathway. Certain things, for example, like a pathway in order to control. Hmm? Because, for example, in karma, if when the Buddha says, if you offer this, this is the result. Uh, Now, when you offer herbal medicines of sort, we believe, isn't it, for with health in mind, for example, with the person's medicines, we believe that karmic resultant is reflective of that good intention to bring health to another person. So we will have good health, we believe, isn't it? And we do this karma. However, now we do this karma now for the purpose of health. Now another wanting, another self. This is the difference between, the Buddha says, when you do this, this happens. But if you're doing it for this to happen, then we have lost the plot, isn't it? Right? If I am being a generous person just to be wealthy in the future, if I am being a kind person just to be loved and adored for what my words might say or to be respected, then I'm losing the plot in terms of the Dhamma. In maybe in the worldly life it is okay. It might be beneficial to you. However, when it comes to the Dhamma, it is not the Dhamma. Where you are specifically offering this for another Atma, for another becoming of self. So with the sense of letting go comes when there is alobha, nekkhamma, where you're letting go, and through this result, in being happy about this, that is the karma. You're happy about what you have let go of, not being happy over the potential result of what you have let go of, isn't
Is
it?
it like, yeah, is it like full acceptance of any illness or any adverse condition you're going through,
Hmm.
rather than doing kusala karma to change it?
Roma, that also applies because when an illness is fully ripened, may I experience what it is when it is not fully ripened. Uh,
Mm. Mm.
before the illness, when I was healthy, whatever my experience was at that time, even that we are talking about, remember everyone, karma is action. That action itself, that kruti, that kriya.
So, but
Yes.
like most of the time when somebody's ill,
Yes.
even now, we do certain punya kriya to make that person or yourself better. I mean, that's not the holy part, but we all do it still, don't we? Even being in the part,
Yes.
we will release a cow or have a Dhamma talk
Yes.
and transfer medicine to this ill person. Ideally, what we should do is say, it's okay, I'm ill and I'm going through this karma and the karma will fade away.
Mm.
And that's fine too, and not do anything, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that will not happen, Shiroma, because there are two persons there. No? Now, when you're doing that for an ill person, right,
Mm,
hopes
mm,
that that will bring a certain blessing to that ill person, and the person who is being ill, now we are talking from the perspective of the person who is ill.
mm, mm. The other one is act of metta.
The other one is an act of metta.
Mm,
Right. Now, if with a certain sense of wisdom, all of that is happening in the right way in your mind, it can be an active metta.
Yeah.
Now,
Mm.
here she's talking about the person who's going through that plight, because that is a fire that this Dhammapath is relieving that person of.
Yeah.
That person's mind is not craving for that change there, because that person realizes that it is in this deepest acceptance that I will find my peace. It is like that instance, Dil, I'll come to you, you can unmute yourself. There is this instance where, remember the Buddha, there was this woman that was set up to go to Anathapindikarama or Velvanarama
What?
monastery. So she used to walk from the monastery, and remember that it became the talk of the town. The talk of the town. And then everyone, of course, because this created a huge confusion that uh, that this uh, that this I'm trying to think of a polite word. Um, that this
Woman or man?
prostitute. She was a prostitute. So this prostitute, she was a prostitute.
Ambapan.
Yes, she was a prostitute. Ne? She was a very popular courtesan, quite
But,
popular as well.
but he was very devoted to the Buddha, and then people
He
start story.
became an arahat later.
Yeah, no, no, no. This was not that story, Till. This was she became devoted afterwards. Before she was hired to defame the Buddha, and then this became the talk of the town. And
Chinchimanikawa.
Chinchimanik, yeah, I think.
Oh,
Yes.
she the one you accused that she was made pregnant by them.
Somebody,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
That one. Yeah.
Uh,
Chinchima.
so Chinchi was, she created or caused all of this sort of abuse to be heard at the Buddha and the Sangha. And this became quite a disturbance that Ananda of all people, suggests to the Buddha, Bhante, shall we leave? Right. So just I know the sutra, it really tones it down. But imagine when it is coming all the way to Venerable Ananda out of all the other monks, and he is telling the Buddha, shall we leave? Like uproot the whole monastery of 5,000, 10,000 bhikkhus and leave. So imagine the difficulty. Right? Imagine the difficulty. Then what did the Buddha say? Ananda, what if this happens there too? What if it happens there too? Do we go again? So there, the Buddha demonstrated his wisdom there to tell Ananda to teach, to make that a teaching moment. I think 2,600 years afterwards, even to us. But at that moment, to the Sangha to say there are certain problems in our life that we have to face head on. And health, family issues or health or certain things that comes up in our life, we had to face them head on without hoping or wishing and praying that they are different than they are. We are in the present, because no need to be imagining and hallucinating of whether this will be this or this will be this. We face it head on with that sense of acceptance. That is then where this person, whoever this person or practitioner might be, the purpose of the holy life is not for bringing about that which is not fully ripened yet, or to bring about a situation where it is like it is not ripened, but it is fully ripened now. When it is fully ripened, to bring about a situation where it is not ripened, a lower result of it. Hmm? A lower result of it. So, even for example, let us say, everyone, the fear of certain karma vipakas coming to pass. That fear itself is what is the karma. That fear itself, that fear is because of darkness. Everything is a little bit more scary when it's dark, no? That fear is also darkness. Because of that darkness, when wisdom shines upon it and the room is illuminated, at that moment you realize this might be one of so many karmas that we have done in the past. With true learning, we can overcome, and set our mind on far more fruitful bases of mind. Where when our mind goes to sleep, now maybe you were unable to go to sleep properly in a long time, but now you fall asleep just as fast as you lay on your pillow because your mind is able to let go. Your mind, not that you do not have issues and problems, but the mind is able to let go. Not let go, just shut things off. Because people are able to let go when they have a drink, they are able to let go, isn't it? When they put the radio on and when they are having a gala karaoke time, they're able to let go. Neither. Hmm? Neither. Kia no ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ කියලා කරපු කට්ටිය.
Oh,
Oh.
sorry.
Yeah, because you can let go with all of that as well. But we know after that enjoyment or that time, we come back into it again. But this seems okay if it's time to time. But when the meditator sees, no, this is happening cycle to cycle, cycle to cycle. This feeling, whether if it is this or that sense of craving, we learn to let go of in that moment. Where we are not hoping even for the meditation or the vipassana to mature more than it is or bring about a state. May I experience kalapas before I am able to do so. May I experience this vipassana yana before I am able to do so. Right? May I experience it now. May I be able to envisual it. These, of course, we might not word it in this manner, but this essence. Hmm? The seventh,
But
may.
that comes, sorry, man, that is at all like deeper. You were saying there's a deeper meaning of all this. Is that kind of bhavatanha, watching your bhavatanha,
Hmm.
not letting the next moment arise of wishing, wanting,
Hmm.
bhava and vibhavatanha, isn't it?
Bhava.
Bhava wanting
Ah.
and not wanting.
Hmm, 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 hmm,
Hmm?
hmm, hmm, hmm.
Bhavatanha is wanting it
It
a
can be
certain
kama
way.
tanha as well.
Yeah, yeah. Here it's more like wanting something different, which is bhava, wanting the bhava and not wanting in that way, not wanting fully ripened,
Now,
wanting
this is Shiroma, may an action. This is a chanda, a wish.
an action.
Uh,
What about Anna the one thing?
it can be kama tanha, which is the attachment or the clinging that we have to sensual pleasures. Bhava tanha, which is clinging to becoming, or vibhava tanha, clinging to non-existence. It can be any one of that.
Any one of them.
Any one of that. Clinging is the issue.
Mm.
Clinging is the issue. Okay?
Mm.
Because you can bring about fully ripened can mean a situation where you experience a higher sense of bliss, samadhi, huh?
Mm.
Vipassana, discernment, the bliss that arises out of that discernment. Hmm?
Mm.
Now, to a person who just reads this, now I am may if a person is to just approach this sutra, you might just imagine, oh, you just have to be like a potato. Because it's literally saying, don't do any of these things. But
Mm.
take it from the aspect of the practice where our thoughts arise. Where our thoughts arise.
Mm.
And because of these thoughts that arise, clinging, wanting, craving, making the present unsatisfactory for oneself, leading to the future or craving for the future, these are those thoughts, those essences of mind that arises, keeping us away from that present discernment, from that present Nibbana itself. Because any moment when we go, even if it is the first tetrad of the Breathing Meditation Sutra, or even if it is a third tetrad with the mind watching, Chittanupassana of that same sutra, at both those positions, this applies. Because even when you're doing the first tetrad, where you're watching the long breath, the short breath, the whole body of the breath, there are two we do not wish or hope that I experience something. We don't hope for that to change that. Neither do we at this moment of Chittanupassana hope for that. Meaning to not looking at that which is ripened or not ripened, being with which is now. 7. Now then, also Sariputta is the holy life lived under the Blessed One for this purpose. May an action that is felt much, turn into an action that is felt by me as little, karma. Felt by me much, turn into something that is felt by me little, right? Action that is felt by me much turn into an action that is felt by me little. May an action that is felt little turn into an action that is felt by me as much. This is the intensity of karma. The intensity of karma. Okay? Intensity of karma. Dil, you wanted to say something?
Yes, one day.
Yeah, sorry, Dil, you can.
No, when I read this and again today, when you're doing it more in detail, what I'm saying more and more is the profundity of this, because these are two senior arahants who are discussing. They have already experienced the unborn, the unoriginated, uncreated, unformed. So they have already experienced something, while all of us are still trying to travel the path. So that is why all this you're explaining so much of it has so much of meaning, because this is really what that you have italicized and highlighted, that the holy life is led for this purpose. So the purpose is really because the ultimate nibbana, the realization of the Four Noble Truths. That is why these are monks, and not only monks, they have been fortunate, done enough wholesome things to be born during the Buddha, to have met the Buddha, and to become very enlightened monks. So all of us who are practicing, we are still clinging on to our lay lives, right? We are still not even come to the point where we have to let go everything. So selfhood is coming in everything we do. That acceptance of the pain or the pleasure of all these things, and not only the acceptance and the surrender to whatever happens, even in illness, or even when we are meditating and you have just a pain. Why we are always told to just stay with the pain without moving it, because we are always, trying vibhavatana, trying, always we want the pleasure. That's why we are still not giving up everything, living in houses, living with our family. So we can see, though we are practicing, we may practice every day and we may meditate twice a day, and we are so far away, we haven't seen through it to the point even to realize that really, like Chinta, that, that we will leave and we will go and stay in a place, because these monks have experienced something so beautiful that they don't have, and there's no, look at all these words they are using. They are saying, may this action, so there's craving, or it's about karma, or it's about in the future, right? So really, everything is in the present moment. But we do all these things because we always want to get away from the pain, to live a better life. So we are really caught up. And when you're explaining like this, you realize that for me, how far we are from these minds of this, so that now the Buddha taught these things to arahants or to monks who have felt that, been fortunate, met the Buddha, yes, we are lucky that we have internet now and all the things and the books and teachings and monks like you have meditated and we
Yes.
that community. But the thing is that the basic thing to let go of everything. Everything there is a selfhood that comes into the objects that come in, into the feelings that come in, and we are thinking, may this happen and may that happen. When you look like that, I realize how much of delusion we still have. We may be coming to Bante's class and doing this, but we are still so far away because otherwise we would have left and gone long ago and and been happy. There are many people who leave and go and then they're not happy. They go there and then they find that is wrong and other things. So people think that that is the service, but that's not. If you really not felt it, when you go and see how uncomfortable it is when you don't have your comforts and things like that, or when there's noise, or people they feel are not being fair to them. I mean, so many people go into white and then they go and then they find that what's happening, it's supposed to be an ideal monastery, is not there because we still have so much to say. So for me, when I hear you breaking it and explaining one whole lesson and that whole thing, that line that you have underlined, that we were the first day trying to give you all these reasons. Yes, these things when you do this. And that's why the Buddha shunned all these miracles that people are doing, isn't it? Because when you do these things, you can manifest and you can create and you can do things. But that is not the purpose. And that's why the Buddha said that don't, this twin miracle that he had to do once to convince certain people like the Jatila brothers, but that's not the purpose. So
Yes.
we do it always with something in the future, either to get because we are sick, we want something, or other than when you do metta for others and it's just a metta. But generally, we are always doing all this. Why? Because we
So
want to.
at the end, Dale, yes, I
So
think
what I
I think
realize is how far we're doing all this. But when you really look, you can see that we're still wanting these things. So that's why the Buddha never told these things to lay people, these dhammas, like Nakula Mata and Pita. They are always told how can they live together.
so
Or,
Dale just stopped wanting. Simple
yeah.
as that.
Yeah. But that's why, so we haven't come to that point, Mante.
No,
So
I mean, who says so really?
I don't know.
I mean, who says? Now we all say, I haven't come to that point. I have. You're not going to come to that point. Sansara is not designed for you to come to that point.
Yes, so you
Because
have to
this,
maintain
they,
the
because this cycle that we are in is an endless cycle. We always think after I do this, it'll stop. After I do this, it'll stop. After I do this, it'll stop. Now you have run out of all the things that you could do to make it stop. Now you realize the only way this is stop is if I stop.
yes, exactly, Bante. That's what I was saying. That
Uh, so
like
really,
like the
because
Buddha told to that.
because
Stop.
we always say Hari Amari. It is
Uh,
very difficult that we have not come to remember. You never come into that position. You have to, at one point, you have to almost slap yourself on in the face and wake yourself up to what is it that we are doing. The fact of proliferation in our life, the fact of living to satisfy other people's needs or requirements or hopes or aspirations for ourselves, or all of these things that drive us is the main reason that we have or journeyed or come away from so much of peace, come away from so much of peace. Because we continue to make it a point that is so important to us. Making it a point that is so important to us. So I think when in our lives, if we are also very polite with ourselves or with our own environment, you're never going to be doing this. Sometimes you have to, because you are so polite. If you're a yes sayer all of the time, you will have to learn how to say no. Hmm? If you do not, if you're not very good at setting boundaries for yourself and for others, even for yourself, and say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go beyond this point. I'm not going to, you know, anger myself by thinking that, I could advise them. I will tell what I want. Whatever things that you do, you come to a place and quench that fire. You have to do that. That renunciation arises within you up until you decide to let go of it. Just let go.
Yes, Bhante.
It is in this very moment, because still you can have an egg. You can go to the kitchen and boil yourself an egg tonight if you like. If you don't want to, you don't have to, is it? Don't you think it is as easy sometimes as that to let go? Maybe you can't let go of a person, maybe you can't let go of a family, maybe you can't let go of a particular incident, but you can at least let go of the chaos that you're causing in your mind by letting this thing constantly rule over you. No?
That is really the benefit. The proliferation you can go, and that's why this
The proliferation, that's all there is, because you can be trapped.
that is what
You
it
can be trapped in a prison cell. You can be trapped in a torture chamber, right? And you could be practicing this to get away from whatever suffering that there might be. But at the end of the day, you're going to realize that even this suffering, that there is a greater suffering to get rid of, or sorry, to get away from, that this suffering is minute in comparison to the greater suffering that is there, the more that I proliferate this. It is like this constant thought that I have to appease people. It never stops. It never stops. It never stops. And you can't put yourself into become like a hamster wheel to do all of that. These harahats are telling, when you touch, when you taste, or when you drunk out of the fun fountain that we've drunk from,
we
none
will.
of this is going to matter. None
But
of these things will be the purpose. None of this is going to be the way that you're going to find that blissful state of nothing, which, of course, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Mahasangha, in the sense of this sutra, are talking about. That
that's the
is the
beauty of it.
moment. That
The,
is the moment. Hold on. That is the moment that you decide to let go of it. No one, no one is going to support that letting go, because everyone is going to be against that letting go. Because when you let go, things don't work out the same. When you start letting go, things starts falling apart, or you don't become the subservient slave you are to all of these people around you. Subservient slaves to everyone else's sensations and all of these things, when at the end of the day, nothing of this is of true purpose than the moment that you find true peace within yourself. That you try to find true peace within yourself. That is in learning to let go of all these proliferating factors. Even in this 7 and 8, you see, may an action that is felt by me much turn into something that is felt by me little. When I am going through pain in my meditation, do we not wish that that pain subsides, becomes little? When I
that's what I
am
was
going
saying,
through,
that all these things we do.
yeah, going through that pain that we are going through, we are hoping that it is little, or when we are going through felt little, turn into something that is felt by me much. So even in, for example, let us say physical touch, sound, smell, taste, all of these things as well. In that craving that arises, when the moment that you need more and more and more and more, you drift away from the path. You drift away from the path. But in a mind, you're there, you're experiencing this, but it is not going into the wishing, or the purpose of this is not to go through this to experience more of it. That is why even in modern mindfulness, isn't it, when you do meditation to boost up your skills in a certain way, leading to sort of empathy control and all of these things, the narcissistic based tendencies or sociopathic tendencies that could arise through those practices has become a fear in the mindfulness world, because you're proliferating a certain practice to gain certain skills, but this practice can create or can control your emotions as you would wish. That is not a good position to be in, where you're controlling your emotions. That is not what we do. We do not control emotions. We understand where it arises from. We do not control emotions. The Buddha says when hate arises, what do you do? When hate arises, you go take a shower, you do something, you distract yourself, not meditate. Isn't it? After hate arises, what to do? It has arisen now. But what the Buddha says is prevent before the hate arises. The training, the practice, the metta bhavana. Hmm? Now, the 10th one. May an action that is not felt turn into an action that is felt by me. Now, an action that is not even felt by me turn into an action 9. May an action that is felt turn into an action that is unfelt by me. Hmm? This is control over the karmic effects. Control over the karmic effect. May an action that is not felt turn into an action that is felt by me. Hmm? Felt by me. Hoping so I don't experience it, but may it become something that I am experiencing. Or I have felt it, that is felt, may it be unfelt. Hmm? May I, let us say, may I be able to overcome my trauma with a certain thing, right? May I try to overcome or may I try to forget? Or may this be something that is felt by me on both sides. On both sides. Now, the sutra comes into position where Maha Kotthita, Venerable Maha Kotthita, counter questions Venerable Sariputta. Right? The other way around, Venerable Sariputta is, of course, the more senior. Now, also Sariputta, you were asked, right? You were asked. When you were asked, now is the holy life lived under the Blessed One for this person, for this purpose? May an action that is felt here and now turn into an action that is felt by me in the future life? You said, no also. When asked, now is the holy life lived under, may this action that is felt in the future life turn into an action that is felt by me here and now? Sorry. You said no also. In such manner, going through pleasurable, painful, may an action that is felt as pleasurable turn into an action that is felt by me as painful. You said no. When asked, may an action that is felt as painful turn into an action that is felt by me as pleasurable? You said no. When asked, may an action that is felt when fully ripened turn into an action that is felt by me when not fully ripened? You said no. When asked, may an action that is felt when not fully ripened turn into an action that is felt by me when fully ripened? You said no. When asked, may an action felt as much turn into an action that is felt by me as little? You said no. When asked, may an action that is felt little turn into an action that is felt by me as much? You said no. When asked, may an action that is felt into an action, sorry, when an action that is felt turn into an action that is unfelt by me? You said no. You asked, may an action that is not felt turn into an action that is felt by me? You said no. How then also does one live the purpose of the holy life under the Blessed One? The holy life also is lived under the Blessed One for the sake of knowing, seeing, attaining, realizing, penetrating into the unknown, the unseen, the unattained, the unrealized, the unpenetrated. But what also Sariputta is that unknown, unseen, unattained, unrealized, unpenetrated. For the sake of knowing, seeing, attaining, realizing, penetrating, of which the holy life is lived under the Blessed One. Here, this form, in general, for one who takes the holy life throughout, constantly within this practice, look at this beautiful way that they have explained it. Because any moment that we are in beautiful sati, with our hearts, our mind open to the moment with, the Dhamma's balance, they are when something arises, any object arises, you engage with that object with a sense of knowing, seeing, attaining, realizing, penetrating. Hmm? This is this is where that sense of discernment or the way that the mind works, it's not caught up on, oh, this is not that, or oh, this is not like that, or the views, or the mana, or the craving, the conceit, the views, the craving. It's not held up on that. It's not also held upon anger. It's not held up on delusion, personality views. It's not held up on any of that. It is held up on the fact of knowing, seeing, attaining, realizing, penetrating. Into what? Into not what you know, into what is the unknown, the unseen, the unattained, the unrealized, the unpenetrated. This is talking about, of course, what is at the end Nibbana, the peerless. However, this also puts depth on what we do right here, right now, with that state of mind, isn't it? How, with an object, when we observe this, that observing this knowing and seeing, this knowing is not view, this knowing is knowing as it really is. That is the true face or the true nature in which it exists,
The pure experience of
the pure experience of the object.
Mm.
Knowing. So it is not the knowing that connects to your views and the sammuti and all of that. It is the knowing that sees the object as it is. Huh? As the object as it is. Now, for example, if you're looking at a certain object in your house, right? Now, when you see that object, you're seeing it for what it is. That object, not in the way of, let us say, creating attachment towards that object, but the object for what and how it exists in that moment. Not drawing the ties and connecting it to do another bond, to make another bond. Hmm? Into the unknown, the unseen, unattained, unrealized, unpenetrated. Then here, none of these experiences, just like rebirth, none of these experiences are known to the person who is going to now experience them. Hmm? So, if one is fearful of that non happening, that nothingness, that shunyata, the ability of being in the absolute nothing, the cessation of all things, you're going into a situation just like rebirth. You're going into a situation where you have not known this or seen this or attained this. But because the mind is so natured in a manner where every moment for it is, it's not view that is coming. Oh my gosh, what is going to happen here? Is this going to be like this experience or that experience? What is happening? None of that. Because the mind with the ekagrata, the settledness, the peace, the nature there, knowing, seeing, knowing as it is, seeing it as it is, attaining, realizing, penetrating, what is to do with the object. But what also Sariputta is that knowing, seeing, and all of that. This is suffering. This suffering is the fact of suffering is always, this is dukkha. Because suffering is such a word in English when we read. But this is dukkha. That nature of dukkha has the factor of it is not personal, but the moment that it arises, there is a certain sense of change that is caused, impact that is raised, difference that is made, another sense of restlessness abiding. This is suffering, knowing suffering as it is. What is the knowing? What is the seeing? What is the realizing? What is the penetrating? This is suffering, knowing suffering for what it is. This also is the unknown, the unseen, the unattained, the unrealized, unpenetrated, for the sake of whose knowing, seeing, attaining, realizing, penetrating, that the holy life lived under the Blessed One. Seeing that truth, because it is through that seeing, when you see the suffering, you engage with what is the reason that this becomes suffering to me. It is because of this second one. This is the arising of suffering. The arising of suffering is when clinging takes that object or takes that element of suffering on board as Atma. When you see that craving, that clinging, that tanha that arises in each moment, taking it as personal, making it yours, there now you proliferate, you want to exist, you want to cling, because that is where you find comfort, feeding the craving of the self. In seeing that this is the ending of suffering, that is Nibbana, and the path leading to the ending of suffering, that is the Magga and the Phala. Magga and Phala. So this in all represents Nibbana and the way that we get there. See
Bhante,
as it is. Yes, Shiroma.
sorry. I just thought that 1 and 2
Hmm.
would be the 10 points that we discussed just now,
Yes.
all the questions, and that answers. That would be the cause and the suffering.
Because all of that is the cause and the suffering. That is where the suffering arises. That is where we are taken away from the present moment. That is what takes us away from the vipassana, distracts us from the object. That happens because of the craving, and in that happening, there is suffering.
Mm.
In that happening, it is suffering. The fact that I wish that in the future, may I have the same pleasure that I have. I am putting on a worry into my head that I cannot truly ensure that I can control and receive as an outcome. May with the deeds that I've done here, may I influence the actions that I'm experiencing in the future. That is unnecessary due stress on you. That is not the purpose, that is not the path. Because it is not in seeing any of that or any of these Vedanas or the way that you feel, even happy or sorrowful, that is not engaging into seeing of what is true suffering. So there you find all of those causes, things that we went through, is again, it happened because of craving there. So then in the counter questions, Venerable Sariputta says, in this is what the purpose is. The purpose of the holy life is to see the suffering, to see its arise, to see the ending and the path leading to its ending.
So, Bhante, in this discussion, you took us through the path leading to the end. So we've covered number 4. So that leaves only number 3
Number 3.
for us to do.
Only number 3.
Yeah, because you just
Number
took us
3,
through number 4.
but number 3 has to තව පොඩ්ඩක් මේක වැදෙන්න ඕන වගේ. Feel like this suffering.
Because we are still
But
doing,
it's
but
like the
we're not
suffering
doing.
is arising and arising, but still it doesn't think as the suffering that I want to get rid of. Uh,
Because we are still doing and not the being and not the letting go one. That's the thing. And we are still thinking, may this happen and may that in the future. We are not just accepting the present, whatever it is, and being and accepting and letting go. That is the point. That's where this is so beautiful, Bhante. Every word in this is so beautiful because they have experience, and therefore can tell. We don't know what it is, right? So we are doing all these things on a path, hoping that without just waiting and just accepting and in being. We are not doing that. We are still doing that because we think we are on a path and we have to get somewhere. These arhats have been there. I think all that rubbish that we are doing, they've done, but they are now in this state where they can just be because they've experienced so much of bliss, not like us. And when we do these little things, then we have peace of mind and it's fascinating, man.
All
Thank
right,
you
then.
so
All
much.
right. Then we will leave it there, everyone. Wishing all of you the very best in your personal practice. And I will see some of you tomorrow at the Thursday class. And we will be continuing next Wednesday with another sutra. Night, everyone.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you.